Last time on Metroid, blackdie project, Samus had met Fortune and crawled into a corner, crying like a little sissy girl, and had to be saved by big, strong Adam, where they proceeded to, Hey! Ow! I will not have you read that lousy Other M fanfiction on my show! You read worse! No, I haven't. No, I'm pretty positive even Von Doom is looking at that fanfic and looking down upon it. What fanfic? You know, that one story where Samus was a coward and followed everything that Adam said and cried when she faced off against Ripley again. That fanfic. I mean, nobody in their right mind would believe that to be a real story, right? Right? I kid. Last time on the Black Die Project, Samus was awesome. That's all you need to know. And now, for the rest of our story. Remember, folks, the drinking game is, every time I make fun of Other M, you take a drink. Enjoy. Metroid, Black Die. Chapter 6, Encircled. Tanner picked one of the closest spots near the entrance to park his truck. He had just gotten a call from the elusive Black Hole Group. They vaguely mentioned something about having an unexpected guest he might know. When he got out of the vehicle and made sure it was properly secured, he headed toward the entrance with hands in pockets. He really didn't care the least bit about someone noticing him and calling for the Federation police, because there would be no APB up for his arrest. To do so, they had to admit the Sandtraps facility's existence, and a whole bunch of other things they'd rather keep under the table at the moment. There were 2 security guards on the inside, still mopping up after the recent chase. Tanner made his way around the mob of security guards, until noticing Scratch in the company of 2 Black Hole soldiers. He was heading toward the 3, when the soldier with the silver stripes stepped right out at him. "Are you Sebastian Tanner?" the leader asked. "Yeah, that's me. Is that the unexpected guest you were talking about?" He pointed to Scratch. "Indeed. He is incredibly lucky. Had he not talked as fast as he did, we would have shot him on sight." Speaking of which, Tanner shifted his weight and put his full concentration back into the soldier. "When am I going to be able to talk to your leaders? We have business to discuss." "Oh, it won't be today. And after this one here?" The soldier raised his gun arm to gesture translation. "Don't expect it to be anytime soon, worm." "Yeah, you do that. You guys ain't even around here. Tell your bosses they should stay under that rock of theirs anyway." The leader walked off without responding to Tanner's comment, and took other 2 soldiers with him. They went downstairs, and Scratch made his way up to Tanner and let out a sigh. "Phew, man, you'll never guess who I just ran my ass off from!" Scratch began. "Samus, goddamn, I ran! Hey, her middle name is Elizabeth. She's right here on Big Blue, if it weren't for Storm and Drank's men." Tanner nodded, and showed his teeth in a smile. It looked more like he was grinding them together, though, as he began to walk toward the elevator. Scratch slowly followed after him, waiting for a response. "That's just all great, 'cause old Red Dead Ridley just paid 2 of our guys a visit a couple hours ago." "Hey, that's great! If this was Other M Samus, then you just send Ridley after her and Samus will be so busy crying in a corner that you'll be able to get away scot-free! Ding!" That comment is never going to get old. The mention of Ridley caused Scratch to twitch uncomfortably and freeze in his tracks. You could tell he was writing the words, "It can't be. It can't be," through his mind right then. "Are you sure? There's no way!" His voice trailed off as he noticed Tanner was carrying something for the first time. It was an old yellow bucket, filled to the brim with ash. Some white particles that resembled bones could sometimes be seen when the dust sifted side to side. Now the 2 were looking at each other as they waited for the elevator. "You can't tell me that." Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Tanner said simply. Oh my god. Come on, we're heading up. Tanner made a motion with his hand. I remember what I told you about Vespula. Scratch shot Tanner an angry look. What? Meet with them? No way! I'll stay down here! You go talk to the Wasp people! That's bad, Scratch. Not showing loyalty to your leader and breaking from his side. You forgot the Vespula are all about servitude and loyalty. They hate cowards. The more you make yourself out looking dedicated to me, the better. There's no way I'm going to act like I kiss your ass all the time. This statement caused Tanner to laugh a bit. You mean you don't? The elevator dinged as Scratch took a swig and hit his boss in the shoulder. However, he did get into the elevator as it headed up toward the Teal Tower Suites. The Teal Tower structure was the left tower when looking at it from the left entrance, while the other tower was known as Orange Tower. And over there, we have Vermilion Tower. I now made you play the Vermilion music. You're welcome. Tanner had learned from a quick communication that the Vespula royal family had taken themselves into the topmost floor of the Teal Tower, and had hit the button leading to the highest floor. The quick scan initiated made it known to the hotel they were expected guests. It seemed that the closer they got to the top, the more nervous Scratch became. How long has it been since we were running these guys down on Tarissus? 15 years maybe? Or was it 10? Anyway, the Vespula memory is as sharp as a goddamn laser cut razor. They couldn't remember what they had for breakfast on the first day of their lives when on their deathbed. You looked to see Scratch groan. Yeah, so they think they were going to forget our time at the Galactic Army. The sound of the ocean greeted them as the high-speed elevator reached the top and let them off at the floor. Immediately, they were greeted by two Vespula guards that met them with cold glare. Oh yeah, they remember us, Tanner said under his breath. The Wasp men stood upright, with two legs, and used their abdomen with a large stinger as a third point to balance from. So basically, the best way to win is to sweep kick them. That way they could be like a little top bouncing on that little stinger of theirs. 4 arms could be found on their thin torso to help them accomplish a variety of things. This torso also supported their translucent wings to help them take to the sky. And since they had very little body mass around the midsection, it allowed them to move extremely fast when off the ground. Tanner couldn't help but make direct contact with the highly developed eyes. They could be compared to humans, only slightly larger with fewer color variations. However, these eyes did not eliminate the need for the two antennae on the head that constantly twist and move. It was well known, at least to Tanner, how keen Vespula's senses were. Scratch could care less on how the Vespula looked, because his view was centered on the large weapons they carried. This weapon was commonly compared to a 21st century Gatling gun, because of the similar design and fire rate. The gold barrels were not aligned straight, but were instead twisted in a spiral pattern. It was a weapon with 4 different triggers, 2 on the top and 2 on the button, all used to fire the Vespula auto rifle. I'm sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to shoot this thing. Tanner couldn't help but grin looking at it. Haven't changed a bit, he realized. Great, one Vespula said angrily. Hey, that's pretty good, Tanner laughed. You managed to pronounce all the letters without royally screwing them up. Good job. Come a long way from that damn buzzing sound you made a long time ago. There was a long silence that they simply stared at each other. Well, enough of this crap. Want to talk to your queen, okay? Tanner was talking to them like they were 5 years old. Scratch was turning white. But eventually, one of them turned and began to lead the two down the extravagantly decorated hallway. Paintings from human and otherworldly artists covered most of the walls, and simply moving down the hallway revealed chandeliers hanging from the ceiling. They weren't needed, but it was added to make the floor more presentable. It also contained glass tables, and specially designed chairs that accommodate all sorts of differently shaped guests. Of course, it was hard to make much else out, because the entire floor was swarming with Vespula. They had turned it into a hive. Nearly every single Vespula they passed made one glance at Tanner, if not a full-out stare. It seemed like every one of them knew the humans was passing by, but not for any reason that could be described as positive. No, it was more of a fear, and Scratch could sense it. They watched Tanner because they weren't sure what he would do. And if he did pull something, they had to be faster than he was. This whole process had taken up so much of Scratch's attention, he hardly noticed when they had finally entered the master bedroom, where the Vespula Queen sat with her back to them. Your Highness, he is here. Tanner Sebastian, my children and I have not forgotten you. The Vespula Queen did not even glance over her shoulder as she said his name. She shivered and made a gesture with her two left arms to come closer. All the times Tanner had fought against the Vespula, he had never forgotten this close to the Queen before. The stories he had heard did not do the matriarch justice. The abdomen of the Queen was much larger than the normal Vespula in order to make room for the reproductive egg-laying organs. Her wings were so much broader to accompany the extra weight. She also developed dorsal spines that ran in between the wings and along the abdomen. Let's play poker every night with the alien Queen. Damn! Tanner whistled. I always thought your stinger would be longer. Guess I owe Chester that 100 credits now. No one was amused by his joke, not even Scratch. What is this meeting about, Tanner Zebester? Have you finally decided to stop your little oxen and give me the zone again? No, that wouldn't be any fun, Tanner answered in a dark, sarcastic manner. What I came to do is tell you about a couple of problems of ours. He dropped a bucket in the middle of the room. The large plunk caused by the dropping bucket made the Vespula Queen turn completely around to see what was inside. Needless to say, it caused her to raise an eye. As Ridley torched two of my boys while they were leaving a restaurant. That's them in the bucket. He works for the Space Pirates, just in case you haven't heard of them and over your side of the universe. Do you think me stupid as Tanner Sebastian? Whoever has not heard of the Space Pirates are conceited fools! Good. Nice to know we're on the same page. Tanner moved forward to the bed, and the four guards facing the room did likewise. See, Scratch just informed me that Samus Allen has shown up as well. Now, one of them has to go, or by the time we get any deal go up, we'll all be dead or arrested. Quite a situation for you. However, it has nothing to do with the Vespula. The Space Pirates have currently been very occupied with the Federation Galactic. I do not wish to warrant their attentions. Terra laughed. He expected such an answer. No one wanted to visit from a space pirate if they were smart, no matter what kind of reward was at the end of the tunnel. But this was at the end of the conversation. What about the bounty hunter? Tanner grinned. Vespula Queen's forehands balled up to the angry fists. Scratch backed up toward the door, even though he couldn't escape with two more guards on the other side. Who would not want to get even with that Zozo devil, Alan Samus? The Queen hissed, as if mentioning Samus was a painful act. Z has put many of my children to death. Peachy, thought you'd say that. So I brought you a present. Think of it as a free sample. The Queen stood up from her bed and walked to the side where Tanner stood. He moved back to the bucket and kicked it over so the ash fell onto the floor. A round device rolled out, and he picked up quickly. This was Scratch's cue to step up and start talking. It's a Zonogen enhanced bomb, or a Zonogen bomb, to put it slightly, Scratch explained, his mouth going a million miles per hour. It's more than enough to kill Iron, and you'll get your free Zonogen demonstration, since you think it's a load of crap. I said nothing of the sort. That's what's funny about the eyes. Window to the soul, or so the saying goes. They stood in silence, as the vestibule queen seemed to be sensing the Zonazin bomb with her antennae. It seemed like she was losing entrance, and Tanner spoke up again. Black hole downstairs just kicked dirt in my face. So if you want some sway in my favor or your direction, I suggest you take the opportunity. Well, might be able to take a couple of zeros off the final figure. The queen made a motion for her 4 guards, and they stepped up carefully to receive the bomb. Tanner let go of it gently, as if passing of a child of his or expensive boss. Face! Whatever! The guards were quick to take it into the next room, and place any far away from their queen. She looked toward Tanner, and started to smirk on his face. It had gotten bigger. Enjoy it. It had not been too long since Samus ran into the Serpent Roof Hotel to chase after Scratch. She soon discovered the message from Graves was no lie, and returned to her ship to receive the call on all channels. As the man in green implied, Graves was very angry. What the hell do you think you're doing, Aran? Where are you on the Big Blue? Graves was shouting. You talked with Victoria Maitland, correct? He said that Tanner came here after abandoning Sandtrap. Hell, Maitland. Graves muttered as if it was a bad memory. She hasn't recovered from the encounter with Fantoon. Our psychological check says she's a mess. This was no surprise to Samus. Of course, you knew she'd never recover, he realized. No one ever forgets Fantoon, Samus admitted. He makes sure the fear stays well after he leaves. Well, whatever reason you're here, take into account you're not on a desolate planet with miles of terrain to destroy. You're on a major population world with countless Federation inhabitants. If your weapon even misfires... Adam has made that point very clear, Samus interrupted. I saw Silas Thompson on the Serpent Reef. Tanner is here. What he plans to do with the Sonogen, I'm still trying to figure out. He's either trying to find another system to back him, or he's trying to move the weapon well out of Federation space. Graves paused and turned to look to something on screen. He moved his hat and looked back towards Samus. Sonogen is not to get off the Big Blue. Do you understand? More than you could possibly understand. Samus out. Ah, see, isn't this nice when a character is acting in character and isn't obeying some loser trying to tell you that you should not enter that flaming area where you're going to burn to death slowly without your protective suit for no good reason, and it sounds like a stupid idea, and Samus will really be like, I did receive your command, Adam, but because I think it's a stupid idea, I'm not going to do it. Because, you know, that's something a smart character should do. Okay, I know I'm repeating a cliche, picking on Adam for that part, but okay, fans of Other M, look me straight in the eye, and then I want you to try to explain to me what sense did it make for Adam to have Samus turn off her Faria suit and do not use the reasons video game difficulty. The transmission ended as the ship became quiet. Samus spun around in her chair, to look about the cockpit to realize something. Adam, where did they go? Adam needed no explanation of who they referred to. The Kratos apparently wanted to stretch their legs and left the ship while you were exploring the city. There's no need to worry. They're quite close. They haven't left the spaceport. Strange, Samus thought aloud. It was then she could hear a metallic plink. Something had hit the outside of her ship. As she moved to look out the cockpit window to see if there was something or someone moving around. The sound could have well been caused by a Dakilas or Eticunes wanting to get back in the ship. However, all she could see was the flutter of translucent wings. Her heart skipped a beat. Samus! A forward device has been attached to the hull. I couldn't sense it until its activation. It's nothing listed in the databanks. Adam, initiate emergency download of consciousness into the databanks. Complete. Now get out of there, Samus. I'm just gonna say, completely random. The Metroid Escape music just started playing. Samus pressed a couple of buttons on her arm cannon and activated a beam down. Now under the ship, so you could see the round blue device with flashing lights stuck tightly to the hull of her ship. It looked like a bomb, but there was something moving inside of it. It was like nothing she'd ever seen before. When she tried to step away, the lights went red and initiated bomb detonation. There was a flash, except it was not bright. In fact, it had seemingly sucked the light out of the area, and when it dissipated, a fluid-like substance began to pour out of the bomb. It almost seemed to be alive as tentacles formed. Oh gods! No more tentacles! Quick! Hide the virgins! Hide me! It began to wrap around the ship and the landing gear. Some of the tentacles reached out to Samus as she moved to run away. A second blast came when the whole ship was overtaken by the black substance. The explosion was on par with the explosion that destroyed Seabeast the first time, only miniaturized into the area around her ship without expanding. She was tossed clear of the blast area and didn't stop until hitting a ship parked nearby. Supply crates on the ground were also thrown, and any sort of glass compound making up the cockpit window of neighboring ships were blown into millions of tiny fragments. When the bomb was done exploding, the damage was far from over with. Samus' suit began to malfunction in ways she'd never seen it act before. Her visor switched maniacally, hurting her eyes with sensory overload. The arm cannon on her suit sparked and almost threatened to self-destruct. The alternate functions of her suit collected over the many missions switched on and off, from functional to beyond repair. It was only a few moments when her visor stopped sorting out, so you could tell powerful radiation saturated the area, wreaking havoc with anything and everything. The insane nature of her suit's malfunctions could be attributed to the fact that it was heavily affected by Metroid DNA. It was probably her saving grace as the chaotic system failures slowly came to a halt, and everything went black. Chapter 7. After the Bomb. Samus opened her eyes with a start. Smoke began to leak into her suit, due to a crack that formed on her visor. Her eyes stung, and her vision became blurry. When she pushed herself off the ground, the chaos of the area came into focus. The explosion had caused the entire room to go up in flames, and the emergency devices designed to stop this had been disabled by zones of radiation. A crater sat in the area where her ship had been parked, and any search for debris was useless. It had been vaporized. Oh, for crying out loud! That's the third one this week! But there was plenty of destruction, as the surrounding ships had been reduced to scrap metal by the blast radius. Through all the sounds of crackling flames, hissing sparks, and groaning metal, a loud buzzing was somewhere off in the distance. It was the Vespula's natural dialect. The only parts Samus could make out were the last few. Find the body. It is said that the slaughter is not so easily slain. Z is not dead until her head rests in our queen's arms. Of course, for the queen's glories. Samus rose to her feet and began to stumble around to try to regain her balance. It wasn't happening, and forced her to grab onto a fallen support beam. Her eyes stung so badly, but what she saw through the smoke was a blur in the shape of a Vespula, armed with only could be their auto rifle. This Vespula turned toward her and began to creep forward. She raised her arm cannon, but the damage it had taken couldn't be made out clearly. There's no way it was going to fire in her weakened condition. Her entire suit needed more energy. During her concentration on her condition of her fusion suit, a burst of flame caused her to stumble backwards into the hull of a wrecked spaceship. The noise was more than enough to attract the approaching Vespula. The auto rifle revved up next and sounded like a jackhammer. You could hear it a mile away, as they said, but it does not help Samus in her weakened condition. When the Vespula soldier finally rounded the support beam, his antenna's eye twisted in eagerness. His mouth fused drew back in a smile. Use, he hissed. The sight of the fully grown Vespula began to nurture a craving inside Samus. It had been there before, around the time she had woken up. But now it was stronger than ever, and she couldn't help but leap forth with strength she didn't know she had left. The Vespula tried to fire, managing to squeeze one or two rounds, but completely missing as the hunter overtook him and grabbed his neck. The neck turned into a headlock. The clean snap of a wing breaking could be heard next, as Samus brought him to the ground and pinned him to the floor. She found it surprising the creature did not put up more of a fight, but soon found out why. The fusion suit had begun to drain the Vespula's energy like a Metroid. The suit's systems reacted immediately, returning power and restarting abilities one after another. The more energy she took out of the Vespula, the more her senses began to sharpen up. The visor's cracks soon disappeared, and as soon as the two pieces of glass fused together like they were webbing, her eyes no longer hurt like they did, and the smoke didn't seem as thick anymore. Any other damages the suit had taken during the Sonjin blast had disappeared completely. She only let go when her arm cannon ceased to spark. It glimmered like it was brand new. However, this is other M. Samus, so she instead got badly beaten by the Vespula and had to be saved by, I don't know, Arnold Schwarzenegger or something. Ding! The sensation was nearly identical to the feeling of when absorbing the X-parasites, except this time, she absorbed the life energy out of an organism directly. It was so quick and similar to the way Metroid sucked life out of their prey after pouncing on them. Like the instincts of a Metroid, Samus stuttered. This crave. It could only remind her at the time the Metroid larva made a desperate last-second leap at the mother brain after taking medical critical hits. The only difference was that she actually managed to acquire that life-saving drain. Her fuse sifted to the Vespula on the floor. It exhibited all the traits of a Metroid victim, becoming shriveled, gray, and lifeless. As if to confirm her senses, she gave it a tap with her foot. It caused the entire creature to disintegrate. Another Vespula soldier that had witnessed the whole event from behind overcame my rage. Kill the monsters! Without hesitating, Samus spun around and kneeled before firing off her ice beam. The Vespula had no chance and uttered a cry of pain before becoming completely frozen. The hunter fired again to make it final, and shattered the frozen wasp creature. She did not have much time to relax when a hail of lasers came from a high-flying attacker. It wasn't hard for the Vespula soldier to lose track of Samus through the smoke, flame, and records dying to hang her. The only thing that could be made out from above was the crater where Samus' ship had been, and the flaming debris of other ships, unfortunate enough to be too close for the final blast. He studied the area carefully, looking for her. It was before a missile came rocketing out of one of the smoke clouds and nailed him in the back. The explosion incinerated his wings and sent him pummeling into a pile of jagged metal. The sound of an exoskeleton cracking a pointed surface brought over two more Vespula soldiers with their auto rifles already on full. No amount of dodging or evasion would avoid the wall of lasers. They were simply coming too many at once, and they managed to hit Samus a couple of times before she retreated behind the severed wing of another spaceship. It sounded like a roar as the withering fire of the Vespula auto rifles began to tear away at the wing. The sound only increased as they approached, using their pounding fire to keep Samus down. They were almost on top of her position when a massive explosion came from underneath the wing and sent it flying into the air. The blast also tossed the two Vespula and easily knocked their weapons out of their hands. Samus came out of her morph ball and absorbed the damage caused by her power bomb. Needless to say, the area was wrecked enough, and her bomb made no additional damage. It only tossed a piece of junk, disposed of the two Vespula, who were now sprawled out across the ground unconscious. Without the wing in the way, they would have been incinerated. She proceeded through the wreckage of the area carefully, making sure there were no more unpleasant surprises. I mean, there were a few more Vespula guards, but she took care of them. When she used the exit, She was relieved to find the explosion did not damage the access hallway. It gradually headed up toward the lifts that would lead to the surface and landing platform, but escape was not the dominant concern. Her worry had shifted to the creatures Adam had reported were somewhere around. Hopefully, the Vespula did not kill them out of spite. There was a rest point before the stretch to the lifts. It was filled with vending machines and stacks of flyers. Samus stopped here to look around, thinking maybe the Eticoon's curiosity had gotten to experiment with the vending machines. But there was no trace of them. Even still, there was someone approaching from the direction of the lifts. The footsteps echoed on down the abandoned hallway. You are every bit as nightmarish as my queen said you were, Alon Samus. Even death is afraid of you. A Vespula appeared, but was different from the others Samus had engaged in the hangar. This one wore red shafts, along with armor to cover the upper body. He was the leader of the unit Samus had just eliminated. "Where's Tanner?" Samus asked. "I have not heard such a name. It has no bearing on our mission. You must pay for the execution of our fellow brothers and sisters." "That bomb was laced with Zonogen, and Tanner's too ruthless to let you steal it from him. So what are you doing with it?" Samus raised her arm cannon. "I won't ask again." The commander said nothing more and drew his weapons. It was not the large and heavy auto rifle his subordinates used. It was the Vespula buckler, their preferred pistol. It was known for its loud discharge and deadly accuracy. Not very threatening on its own, but the Vespula were in the habit of using all their arms in a fight, and the commander was no different now. With four pistols ready to fire, the hallway became a blaze of blaster fire as they went at it. This commander took to the air and used the agility provided by his wings to avoid the ice beam fire. In Samus's career of bounty hunting, she had never taken on any Vespula above the rank of soldier. To face a commander was a different experience in itself, and soon switched her arm cannon to plasma beam. Switching between beam weapons in the middle of the battle was enough to catch the commander off guard, as the searing beam moved like lightning and clipped him in the wing. This welted the wing on contact and ruined the balance needed to stay in the air. The Vespula commander hit the ground and rolled before standing back up and resuming his blaster fire. This move cost him his upper and lower right arm. Samus was relentless with her plasma attack and burned them clean off. There was no profuse bleeding, since the heat sealed the wound. A wild and panicked screech escaped the commander as he went to grab his now non-existent right arms. This move was all Samus needed to step forward and knock the Vespula to the ground before disarming him. The Vespula commander hissed in pain. "Chozo Devil! Now, where did you get the Zonogen? For Tanner? Why are you protecting him?" "Those who serve our queen are our allies," the commander spat. "For her glory! You still have a chance to live. Tell me, where is he?" The commander made perfect eye contact with Samus as he grunted and arched his back. The next thing she knew, he was flopping onto the ground lifeless. The commander had used his remaining arms to break off his stinger and let loose most of his vital organs. They were now on the floor as he bled out the graph. "Vespula suicide. Ew!" A stampede heading from the lifts made her turn and see an army of the Federation approached. All of them were outfitted in the combat-ready suits. They were quick to surround Samus, as Bleak Blue firefighters came in shortly afterward. None of them stuttered, stepping upon seeing the gruesome Vespula corpse, but kept on. The heavily pressurized equipment had to be used as soon as before they were tired out and couldn't lug it anymore. It would be light enough once they discharged it over the flames. "What's going on here? Explain yourself!" the police officer asked. "I was attacked and I defended myself. These Vespula tried to kill me. They destroyed my ship and ruined the rest of the hangar." One of the officers looked to see the pool gathering under the dead Vespula and shook his head. It's not that easy to you, is it? No, it's not, Samus told him. But it answers your question, doesn't it? Damn, man. Fast fetal suicide. Hell, he always makes it a goddamn mess. Come on! We don't have time for this. One officer told the others, we need to catch up with the firefighters. And you, Aaron, you need to report to the surface immediately. You can keep those creatures we found hanging around outside company. Samus smiled a bit, knowing the companions he picked up from the BSL, and made it out fine and walked off. The high-speed list made the trip to the surface fast, as he was stepping out into the morning light of bleak blue sun soon enough. 2 steps out of the spaceport, and she could see the mob of people and reporters held back by the emergency ships and Federation cruisers. The floating cameras went dormant, but she could tell they were taking millions upon millions of pictures as he left the spaceport. Samus, what are you doing? I can't help it. I have to do this. If I don't smile during photos, I look sad. Just as the officer said before, there were a group of officers watching the Danticoon trio attack a little mother and baby. He couldn't keep the creatures corralled for long, as he broke free upon seeing Samus and rushed toward her. It wasn't so much an expression of seeing her flying, it was more of a way of getting out of the clutches of the strange officer creatures who had found him earlier. While this was happening, Samus could see a couple of soldiers from Black Hole among the crowd. They didn't stay long, just enough to see her walk out in one piece, then left. They were not the center of attention anyway. The cameras were all concentrated on Samus Aran, the famous bounty hunter still making a riot wherever she went. Reporters yelled out futility to get a story, or any details surrounding the great explosion that had caused the floating city's foundations to shake. Samus merely looking at the cameras, hoping Tara was watching. Mr. Wren, Clark Kent, we got a story for us. Mr. Wren, Peter Parker for the Daily Bugle. Mr. Wren, Ben Urich for the Daily News. Boris, where are you right now? Boris did a quick look around the area around him, while clapping a hand over his cell phone. Ooh, nice apps! He always wanted to visit the well-known gambling district of Big Blue. The finest resort casinos all in line, under the sea of course. Tanner had told him not to go, but with all the excitement with the festival and reports on TV, he figured Samus wouldn't have time to pick him out of a crowd and chase him down. South Blue Street. Boris lied, while moving into an area with less digging slot machines. Tanner was quiet, almost confirming he knew better. How many times have I told you to lay low? You're going to end up in the gutter, walking where you don't belong. This is like the 3rd time you've been out of position. Boris moved to an elevator to head toward the surface lounge. You remember reading it had a great view of the East Blue Ocean. Yeah, what? East Blue Ocean. Okay. It's official. We are now on the One Piece world. I don't know how that happened, but I'm happy. Looking for him, no one else got on, and the glass elevator was empty. He could talk as loud as he could and not have to worry about people overhearing the conversation. Samus ran to survive the Sonogen attack. Not to mention, she'll be filling out paperwork until the sun burns out. You know how Federation police are like. They keep records better than they do peace. I wasn't talking about Samus Aran. In case you haven't heard, we've got more than a bounty hunter on our asses. Don't tell me you forgot Stan and whiskey. I thought the ashes in a bucket were a good enough example for you. Like Ridley is going to break into a casino in broad daylight. Big Blue will be locked down in minutes. No, they won't. Big Blue is an intergalactic resort planet. They make too many underworldly bureaucrats angry by ruining their vacation. Tara laughed. Galactic Federation is too concerned about keeping appearances to know what's good for them. Ridley could burn down a whole building and they wouldn't do anything but advise a warning. The smirk on Boris's face weakened. Look, you just get your ass back to the warehouse. We're moving all our stuff to the docks tomorrow morning. All hands on deck, you understand?
Yeah, it's time. I'll be there. You can cut the tough military commander bull. I'll get you back. Okay.
A cruel laugh came from Tanner's end. Sure. Whatever, loser. The conversation ended, and Boris moved to slide his phone into his jacket pocket. However, when he reached back to open his jacket up, he could feel the back of his arm make contact with some cold, slimy subject. Immediately, he brought it to his view and scraped some of the crap off of him. Colorless, but freezing cold. He went to investigate the source, and nearly jumped out of his skin, realizing Fatoon was right next to him. The ghost was far too big for the elevator car, but its body simply went right through any walls and ceilings, floating so close his closed mouth was at Boris's eye level. Greetings to you, Boris Gale. That's when the power went off and brought the car to a dead stop. Boris went for his old Galactic Army pistol, but became seized by Fatoon's tentacles before uttering a sound. Still, he managed to fire off one round that went straight up and broke one of the ceiling lights. The spark enabled him to see Fatoon just one last time before his eyes were covered. The tentacles were tightening around his head, as if trying to squeeze his brain out. No words are required. We wouldn't want you to waste your time trying to recall all the details we need. Instead, Mother Brain will do the honors for you. Fatoon pressed a couple of buttons on the phone to get Boris's attention. As an example, what I'm going to do is directly link you to her subconscious. It's like a long-distance call using brainwaves. Quite interesting if I do say so myself. You don't understand. Why pick you and not Tanner? Ridley has special plans for your leader. Fatoon then paused to comment. Such a primitive mind after all. It will take seconds for Mother Brain to show through you. Fatoon opened his mouth to show his eyes. They were rolled back and twitched uncontrollably. It had begun. Prepare yourself. You are about to test the mind of a god. It was at this moment Boris could feel himself becoming distant from Big Blue. He was soaring past many different planets before coming across a ship, as if he'd become more aware of anything after him. He wondered for a minute if this was like to be psychic, but any hope or positive feeling he could have had was suddenly crushed under the presence of something else, something he couldn't make out. There was too much going on. It was like turning a radio station to every channel at once and turning the volume to full. It was gibberish, overwhelming and now overpowering gibberish. His mind began to become warm, and soon enough it was on fire, as if an overload was occurring. Whatever he was interacting with now was too complex for his mind to handle. The pain was very noticeable now. It only grew and grew and grew. He lost his definition of silence. There were no such words now. Then, in a split second, he could see Mother Brain in an environmentally sealed glass jar. Sealed for freshness, of course, with rivers of wires branching away from it. He then felt nothing and went limp in Fatoon's grip. The elevator turned back on and continued toward the surface. The delay had caused the crowd to gather. When the doors opened up, they screamed and reeled back in terror. Boris was slumped against the wall, staring off at the distance, wide-eyed. There was nothing left in his mind to be found. It was burnt out, and even though his left eye was stuck in his mouth, you could tell he was devoid of feeling, as if it had been sucked out of him. Look at the bright side, boy. Boris, it could be worse. Mother Brain could end up being some sort of human form for an overly complicated plot that really makes no sense in the long run. It was just utterly stupid, and why did they even do it? Why did they do that to Mother Brain, that stupid piece of... Sorry. Ding! Chapter 8. Special Delivery. And who do we have today, Bonds?
It's that man for the elevator, you know, the one with the eyeball.
Oh, I've heard about him on the news. I've wanted to come to this one. Snap! There was a snap of rubber gloves being put on. Let's get started, shall we? The three coroners moved up to the last laugh and looked over at their newest arrival. It was a muscular, middle-aged man wearing a blue delivery uniform. It was undisturbed, except for the blood that had covered the front of it. One could barely make out the emblem of a dolphin on his chest. Blood could also be found on the hands, under the fingernails, suggesting that the wound near the face was self-inflicted. The wound was center of the attention for the three coroners. Apparently, the man had pried his left eye out of his head, then proceeded to place it in his mouth before dying. Seriously, is that even possible? Fans, please don't try it. Just tell me if it is. It certainly got the attention of the examiners, because for all the years they had worked at the Big Blue Federation precinct, they had never seen anything like it before. They moved their masked heads back and forth, simply absorbing the whole scene.
Are we occurring yet, Barnes?
The coroner, known as Barnes, moved over a console and pressed a button or two, then gave his colleagues a thumb up. Woo! We are up and running!
Okay, the day is during the Big Blue Swell period. 7th day, right?
Yes, correct. This is case 120. 1120. A man found in the elevator with his left eye and found in his mouth. I put it on display as I see it. The three moved forward and looked at the empty socket. Must think it's not dedication. Ha 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 ha. The coroner then paused and let out a dry laugh. I'm glad to finally be back in our familiar territory. Talking about the Vespia, huh, Edwards? Edwards was on the left side of the table, and looking over his shoulder to the 6 or so Vespia corpses pulled from the spaceport explosion. They were neatly lined up on tables of their own, and had already been cleaned and examined. The three found there weren't much left after Samus was through with them. Still, none of them liked digging into the Vespia corpses. Breaking the exoskeleton was hard enough, and the job didn't get any easier when they had to swim through the haphazard internal organs. Yes, they could all agree that examining a human was a very welcome break. Okay, let's run an ID check before continuing. Remember, people, protocol. Barnes nodded his head and moved back toward the console. He flipped a couple more switches and began a scan of the man's face. A search immediately began through the Federation databanks. While that ran, they all began to concentrate on the eyeball in the mouth. Let's remove it for further investigation. The last coroner, who had been mostly quiet the whole time, removed a set of medical tongs and carefully went to grasp the eye without crushing it. He pulled, and it failed to move. Trying harder only brought him more frustration as Edwards moved in to take over. Give me that thing! It's like it's stuck in there, he snapped.
You won't get it out that way.
Sorry. A flamboyant guy just walked by. You won't get it out that way. The nerves are wrapped around the tongue. Someone said, it's going to take a knife. Three coroners turned around and turned to look to see Samus standing in the hatchway. She had her free hand on her hip and let the arm cannon hang at her side. Aran, what the hell are you doing here? She said nothing, but turned to look at the ID scan that was going on about. It stopped on an individual known as Boris Colley. It listed his stats. And special, such as weight, height, and other data. But when it got down to occupation and place of residence, a red blinking flag showed up. The three coroners gave each other uncomfortable glances. They could tell, even through the masks they wore their special offenses. The eyes said it all. A red flag! Samus moved forward towards the table and began to look Boris's body over. They moved to stop her, but Barnes looked further down the file. It says here that man relates to Mrs. Gizon. Jurisdiction is all hers. By whose order? Garrett Edwards nearly yelled. General Grace, it says. There was silence as Edward and the silent coroner backed off. They had just watched as he began to walk around the table. pausing every once in a while to observe Boris. He seemed to be particularly interested in the logo on his chest, but as hard as you could look at it, there was too much blood to see it clearly. "So, observing your work, eh?" Edward spoke up. "Haven't you done enough damage? We're still processing the last 6 you worked on." He thumbed toward the Vespula behind him. "There wasn't much up for discussion," Samus explained calmly. "They were out to kill me." "One can only wonder why," Edward snickered. Despite the hostility, Samus continued to focus on Boris's body. "Any of you seen this logo before?" She pointed to the dot on the chest. Barnes stepped forward and nodded. "It's the—" "Don't answer that, Barnes!" Edwards interrupted. "Whatever she's involved in, it's a sure bet it's going to pertain to a lot of sensitive information. Are you absolutely sure that she wanted to get involved?" Through the silence, you could feel the conflict of interest going on with Barnes. He wanted to help, but he had a superior to deal with as well. Samus just kept her focus on Boris's wounds, an outfit he was wearing. "Dolphin Head," Barnes answered suddenly. "It's the Dolphin Head Delivery Company. They have a warehouse down the street from that spaceport you were at." Edwards didn't say anything. He just turned around and didn't hear a thing. Finally, Samus looked up from the corpse on the table and turned to Barnes. She nodded, then laughed. Tanner stood outside a Dolphin Head warehouse and looked to his watch. Boris was late. It didn't look like he was going to show up anytime soon. He shifted his view impatiently up and down the street, and sometimes paused to glance upwards at the nearby Serpent Reef Hotel and its teal tower where the Vespula were staying. Even though he paced, he didn't stray too far from a large garage door that was slightly ajar. He had to duck to get under, and that's what scratched in when he came out to find his boss, moving back and forth. "Hey, Seb, what are you waiting for?" "Boris isn't going to show. We just saw the news. He was just found in the elevator with one of his eyeballs stuck in his mouth." This spurred a laugh from Sylvester Tanner, as he put his hands in his pockets and grinned. He laughed again, upon turning his back to Scratch, and began to watch the traffic go by. "And I thought he'd be in the gutter by now." This made Scratch stutter, take a couple steps back, but he quickly recovered.
Tanner, it's Boris. He's dead. Come on.
"Shut up, loser!" Boris was an insubordinate moron who got what was coming to him. Reckless, disobeying direct orders. Hell, he changed. I have no pity for people like that. Tanner snorted. "Glad we finally lost the dead late."
Who's going to drive the lead truck?
"I will. Come on, let's go." When Tanner turned around, he looked to see Scratch frozen in position. He was pointing to something down the street. Slowly, he moved his gaze in the direction the finger was pointing. People had begun to part as someone was hurrying their way toward him. "It's Moses!" Tanner couldn't make anyone out through the mass of people, but he figured Scratch had spotted something before losing sight. Then, a figure leapt from the crowd and did a somersault until landing right at his feet. "Sebastian Tanner! Don't even flinch!" Samus sounded. People from across the street began to stop and watch as the bounty hunter's arm cannon was mere inches from Tanner's chest. Scratch didn't begin to look toward the guard's door, but was so shook up from a second encounter with Samus, he didn't even move. The reaction from his boss was someone who didn't care. Head back, eyes narrowed, arms crossed as if it was a mere convenience. Well, Samus Aran, I always wanted to meet you. You know, you and the Sonogen have a lot in common. After all, it's not every day someone meets the Choso's greatest biological weapon. You still killing everything that ever disagreed with them?" Samus deflected Tanner's statement and tried to stay on track. "Where is it?" she asked strongly, while they were on the subject. Oh, Tanner wanted to respond. He wasn't going to answer her question, but it was going to a response nonetheless. But he barely got his mouth moving when Chester came outside to see what was keeping them. The bearded man did a double take upon seeing his leader staring down Samus's arm cannon. "Boss!" "Stay right there, Chester." Just don't even think while we're out here, Tanner snapped. Then he turned back to Samus. We're just talking. You're about to give up to Sonogen. Is it in that warehouse? How does it feel to be out of your element? No more abandoned planets to blow up? Just a highly populated world where the tiniest stray rocket could heal hundreds. You have no more time to play, traitor. The space pirates are right on your tail, Samus warned. You can't outrun them, and they won't show any mercy. Good. I like it that way, Tanner spat. It'll be refreshing, really. No more dehumanizing trials to go to. No more months and months of questioning just to figure out something everyone knew in the first place. It seemed like time had come to a stop. Traffic had almost halted, as some people were trying to watch the scene from the car. The other side of the street was packed full of onlookers, and everyone just waited for something to happen. They were captivated by the scene. Why haven't you shot me yet? Come on! I want to see some blood and guts! He then paused and narrowed his eyes. Graves gave a refusal to terminate Sandtrap personnel, didn't he? It was just like him. Samus was about to ready to freeze Tanner solid when a boar swooped down and snatched up Chester in a blink of an eye. Everyone stood dumbstruck. Their senses had picked up the whole thing, but their brains were struggling to process. Tanner and Samus were the first to realize what had happened, and they exchanged surprised glances. Fight and screaming came up a little ways next down the street, as Chester found in the sky and landed smack dab on someone's car, shattering all the glass and rolling to the street. Ridley, I hope you haven't swords! A familiar shadow began to dart behind a building. Ridley! Tanner hissed. Samus switched her priorities in an instant, knowing Ridley was far more capable of slaying hundreds within the blink of an eye, and turned her back to Tanner and Scratch. The two ducked in his side without wasting a second, as he began to scan the skies where Ridley made another pass. Samus then saw Ridley, froze completely still in his sight, and then Ridley proceeded to pound the ever-loving crud out of her, and then she was saved by Silver Surfer, and who writes this crap? She was confused. Usually, she could feel Ridley's presence. Whenever he was kneeling her, there was a feeling impossible to escape, as every muscle in her body tensed up and pulse pounded. But this time, there was no such reactions, not even as Ridley swooped down and grabbed Chester. There was none. She moved closer to the entrance of the warehouse, with a strange feeling of vulnerability on the rise. Something new popped up, as an electric whine began to emanate from the garage door. It was quiet at first. Samus almost didn't hear it. But as it grew louder, it became impossible to ignore. She almost didn't recognize it was fast enough. She barely avoided getting hit by the huge anti-gravity semi. The flat end of the truck would have smashed Samus nicely if it had hit her. The garage door was decimated, and it was roared away from the warehouse with Tanner behind the wheel and Scratch in the passenger seat. He gave her a farewell salute as he fired her ice beam, unsuccessful in stopping it. When she ran to the other side, more trucks began to exit. They were moving too fast to be scanned, but it was obvious Tanner's men were driving them. None of them were afraid to T-bone vehicles in their way and push them aside as they fought their way to alien alternate streets and routes. Some flipped cars completely over, while forcing their way through the heavy traffic onto the open road. Samus was helpless to stop any of them, and simply avoided getting plastered. Ridley appeared from behind one of the skyscrapers and began to fly after Tanner, roaring his horrible screech as he went, "Aah!" It was chaos in a quick minute. Oh, how delightful! And it all happened before most people could make sense of it. The 8 trucks were charging through the heart of downtown Neptune, and they constantly split up and took more seemingly random directions. Oh, I forgot to mention, ding! It was only when they had reached the highway did the 8 come back together in astounding coordination. Tanner was leading the pack now, continually destroying anyone stupid enough to get into his way. He could do it too. The anti-gravity technology tossed out the old notions that trucks with large trailers were slow, clumsy vehicles. On the contrary, it allowed him to stop on a dime and easily maneuver the weight and size of a semi through traffic. It didn't seem like anyone was going to stop them either. The Big Blue Central Traffic Control Tower was isolating the highway to ensure that no one else went head-on with the large trucks. And despite the computer system on their side, it would take some time due to how busy the city was. There was the damage the trucks caused on their route to the highway. It would take Big Blue's full police force to clean up and secure the mess that he made. The only ones in pursuit of them now were Ridley and Samus. The thought of getting caught by either provided little comfort. Ridley reached the convoy of trucks first, due to his broad wings and wicked reflexes. Weaving back and forth throughout the buildings was child's play to him. And now they had reached the hallway, and there was nothing keeping up behind him now. He positioned himself right above Tanner's truck and opened his razor-sharp claws and talons. In the same speed he had used to snatch up Chester, he dove toward the truck. The two men behind Tanner could hardly believe their eyes as Ridley landed on the trailer and began to make his way forward. Scratch and Tanner soon felt the whole truck shake like an earthquake what was going on right after them. The truck shook so much that they nearly lost control of the whole thing. When it was over, Tanner had already begun to use the cameras on the dash to see what had happened. "Talk to us, guys. What just happened to you?" Scratch asked frantically. "Ah! Ridley just landed on you! Is that right for the cab?" "Why is that censored?" "Oh, is that so?" He leaned out the window and looked back toward the trailer with his fist waving in the wind. "Get on! I'm going to turn you into dog meat, Ridley!" "Tanner, you have balls. I just wanted to announce that. You have balls. They might be big and balls, and you're about to probably be introduced to them thanks to Ridley carving out your internal organs, but you have balls. Bigger than the ones from the Galactic Federation back on the other M. Ding! Because they're a bunch of sissies. Ding! And wits. Ding! And God, I hate other M. The closer Ridley got to the front, the more Tanner began to swerve. But even he could see it was no use. Ridley had easily dug his claws into the metal frame of the trailer. It seemed like he was glued on. This angered Tanner to no end, as he took out a blaster pistol and fired on the space dragon with one hand still on the wheel. The shots made their mark, but it did nothing but to make Ridley retaliate with a fireball. This blew out the glass and melted the side mirror. "Ridley, I hope you have a choice!" They caused the truck to dart simply out into the track, as Tanner tried to shield his face from the shards of glass. "Mother of God! I'm gonna kill that Corgan's next son of a bitch!" Why was the F word censored? He leaned out to take another shot, but his attention was caught by a white blur, speeding toward him along the side of the road. It was hypnotizing. The distraction was enough for Ridley to nearly incinerate his hand with another blast of flame. Tanner's blaster was destroyed, and the skin of his arm began to fall away. Scratch grabbed a hold of the wheel as his leader cursed up a storm and struggled to fight the pain that was consuming his left arm. During that time, Scratch had caught the wheel. He also saw the white blur and instantly knew who it was. Samus Aran, with his speed booster ability pushed to the maximum. The bounty hunter caught up with their convoy and was now running right up alongside them. Ridley began to spit up farades of flames at Samus, but missed as he leapt up and flew through the air until landing someone right behind him. Now he was on the trailer. Our cannon trained on Ridley's back. "That's right, Ridley. I'm here. You're not facing off against some loser who's paralyzed at the mere sight of you, even though she got over it in the second game!" Ding! Oh, one day, these riffs on other M are going to get boring. But it will not be this day. There was a harsh shaking, as Scratch had driven right through the bush in the median. This was when Ridley drew his head back and launched a flamethrower in Samus' direction. The heat from the fire melted the top of the truck and would incinerate anything in his way. But she didn't wait around for the attack. She jumped off the back of the truck with an acrobatic spin. Tanner could see it due to the cameras and watched intently, still trying to bear the pain due to Ridley's fire attack. When she landed, it was feet first on the passenger window of the truck behind Tanner's. It was enough for her to push off and launch herself back toward the truck. Ridley had turned his attention back toward Tanner and failed to notice Samus's return. She didn't waste the opportunity and fired repeatedly, driving ice-cold blast after ice-cold blast into his back. The strike caused the dragon to arc his back and let out a furious cry, one of anger more than pain. He was standing straight up now, leaving a convenient space for Samus to roll under. Samus did just that, raised her arc cannon to hit Ridley square in the face on the other side. But it was not to be, as Ridley suddenly brought his arms forward and slapped her down. She would have slid off the front if he did not spring forward and pin her down. He was seething with anger, showing his teeth, allowing his ultra-hot saliva to drip freely from his mouth. Any section of the truck touched by this was burned as if acid was there. His next fiery attack was about to clear his snout, when the truck came to a screeching halt and threw them both clear of the trailer. Tanner slammed on the brakes. He couldn't help but smile when both Ridley and Samus crashed into the highway and rolled several times. The 7 trucks cruised on by without stopping. They had their appointed destination and had been ordered to move on ahead. Now it was just Tanner's truck, sitting still in the middle of the highway, while Ridley and Samus laid on the ground unmoving. Tanner himself gripped the wheel, while severing his wooden hand under his good arm. "I'm going to run them over," he said darkly, almost as if he were possessed. "I'm going to shove it in the dust!" Scratch said nothing and soon let go of the wheel. They began to charge, quickly shooting back up the speeds they had just been. Then, as they began to float over Ridley, Tanner reached down to a switch and grabbed it violently. The anti-grav system shut off abruptly, and the truck fell back toward the ground. However, with the momentum they gained, they proceeded to slide right over what they had landed on, causing sickening cracking sounds all the way. The next sound was the scraping of metal as they slid over Samus. Loud crashes it signaled the end of their ride, as though nothing kept the truck from moving on the ground anymore. Tanner reached down and turned the anti-gravity systems back on, and leaned out the window to look back. His maneuver had rolled Samus and Ridley like they were wheels on a conveyor belt. The fertility of it made him smile. Ridley's wings looked like mutilated wings. The Metroid webbing on Samus was almost ripped in every place imaginable. His hollow fat left scratched his mouth wide as he surveyed the damage they had caused.
What are we going to do to them now?
Leave them for it as they are. They were made for each other. Tanner grinned, seemingly recovered from his mild psychosis. We have a cruise to catch. Chapter 9. Invitation Only. The shrine was soothingly quiet. There was a sound of running water from somewhere above, but it only seemed to add to the calmness. Each wall was covered by multiple inscriptions and pictures done by Chozo hands. Although the art was flowing together around the room, each part of it seemed to focus on different Chozo figures. These figures stood from floor to ceiling in great detail, molded in an array of poses. Shapes and sizes varied greatly, but one thing in common was the power suit each one wore. Even a complete stranger could see the progression of the power suit worn, becoming more and more impressive. Then, it stopped. Samus remembered this room, the Chamber of Warriors. It was on Seabeast before the space pirates made it their base of operations. However, it didn't make sense to her. She had only seen it as a child. But here it was before her. She tried to remember what she was doing last, where she was, what was happening at the time, but it escaped her, and she began to turn her attention to the shrine, and the Chozo stage that stood in the center of it. He was back to her, and craning his neck to stare upwards at the many portraits. It was a sad time when these warriors lived. We had grown so fond of technological advancement, never knowing what it was doing to our spiritual entities. The Chozo's words seemed to echo on forever. That is why we never celebrated them as we do now. We were jealous of how they had grown inside, living their lives for the greater good of our race. Most could never grasp that in an eternity. The Chozo shuffled around, then looked towards Samus. Realizing from the shot. The Chozo are extinct, Samus realized. On the level of corporeal existence, yes, that is correct. But you have seen the files of the turned. You know we are still still. The Chozo paused to find the right words for Samus. Around, to put it simply. I was thrown from a truck. Why am I here? The more you remember, the shorter our time together becomes. Dancing between life and death is the only way we can meet like this. You have grown discontent with life. We can sense it. Tell me, what do you think of your fight now that the gelatinous plague has been felled? Samus knew he was talking about the X-parasites. It was after that mission. There was no longer anyone to greet her with a job well done speech. That mission left a dark mark on her relationship with the Feds. And when you have a falling out with the Federation, you have a falling out with most of the galaxy. Do you feel as if success or failure would change anything? Chozo asked again. I don't know. If I succeed, I can no longer tell if I'll be rewarded or hanged, and I can't accomplish anything in death. These warriors had the same struggle. Each victory they had, the more and more fear they caused among the ones they sought to protect. The stagnation of our spirits made fear a necessity. And where we could not find it, we could not know. We soon found it in the ones we had known best. Samus looked over the many pictures of Chozos in the armor she had worn so long ago. Some were covered in head to toe. Some wore robes over, underneath it all. But we always sought to understand what we did not know. This brought understanding, and the fear could stay no longer. Hatchling, although you are hardly that anymore, the question you must ask yourself, will the ones you fight to protect understand you in time? There was a long pause. The shrine became distant. It was slowly bleeding away into nothing. Tanner. Tanner is trying to... You can't be allowed to succeed! Now she could hear the roar of a truck rolling over her, and the sound of it banging to the ground. Tanner's voice came next, but most of it was distorted. Eventually, a small part could be made out. We have a cruise to catch. She opened her eyes and found she was on her back, staring straight up into a bright light. Someone was shining a bright light directly into her visor. Okay, I have a response. Some unadded conscious. A pair of paramedics, try saying that 3 times fast, had taken up position around Samus as she laid flat on the highway. They wanted to remove the helmet for confirmation of consciousness, but had become all too aware that something might be broken underneath the suit. Moving any part of her could be a bad idea. Any equipment they might have needed was nowhere to be found, and the only reason they were here at all was because of a police cruiser. What can you feel? Can you understand what I'm saying? One man aghast. Jeez, where's the hell is that med ship? It's grounded. Bridley's been reported in the area. See those police guys over there? You know, the ones cut in half? They thought he was dead. Now they're the ones 6 feet under. No one wants to get shot down. What is that flying break when the space pirate's best in the area? Good God, that's just wonderful. The best bounty hunter in the galaxy has been crushed by a truck, and we're using head seals and flashlights! Man, if we lose her, our asses are toast for her! Samus made a solid gasp. The craving experience in the spaceport had returned, and it was more vicious than ever. The thought of reaching up and grabbing one of the medics by the neck had become an irresistible idea. Her hand moved slightly upward, but her human senses fought the urge back. She had no intention of killing a bystander. It seemed like she could keep it under control when it struck back again and made her squirm of anticipation. Whoa! I have movement! The 2 medics nearly did a double take as Samus stood up, grasped her stomach as if someone had shot her there. Hey, take it easy. Something might be broken, one medic cried. You just got run over! Quick! Give us something to balance on! Stay away from me! Samus demanded. It was clear. If anyone took even the slightest step toward her, she drained every ounce of her energy until they were dust. Mrs. Crave got worse with each moment her body didn't have the energy to keep her in good condition. What the hell? She's acting like she's going to withdraw or something. She turned to try and move away, but only found more officers around the area where Ridley had been run over. The earth was worse than when the Vespula had attacked for some reason. She was sure the damage caused by Tanner's truck couldn't have been worse than the Sonogen bomb, but the Crave was stronger than ever. Her feet clumsily took her forward toward the two medics, who had no idea what was going on. Get out of here, she said again, only this time, her voice trailed into a whisper. Suddenly, prompted to her head, she moved toward one of the cruisers and smashed one of the running lights. Sparks shot out everywhere as she leaned forward and reached for the wires. What the hell did you? The man could hardly finish the sentence as Samus pulled the live wires out and clutched them in her fist. First, her body shook as a normal electrocution would cause, but then it stopped, and the sound associated with a Metroid draining its prey became audible. The cruiser began to shake and shudder as the systems were losing power. The lights and engine went first. Finally, the anti-grav system letting the cruiser drop to the ground, never to take off again. Holy shit, did you see that? I need to sit down, Samus muttered. But what Samus really wanted to do was find out just what kind of cruise Tanner was trying to catch. The massive ship dominated the South Blue docks. It was huge, a virtual floating city with a sleek, streamlined shape. One way to describe it was an earth whale. The ship was alveolar and contained large fins for designs and partly for steering purposes. It was a metallic white color, sure to be brought out even more by the sunlight when it was brought out to sea. A running deck could be seen at several levels where a passenger could look out across the waves and walk the perimeter of the ship. It was like any big blue event or place. It was guaranteed to be expensive. The beluga could be seen on both sides, just below the window eyes. Passengers had begun to board through the mouth section. Sebastian Tanner thought it was ugly as hell, but still amazed nonetheless. All the stories he had heard from the Zon delivery man did not disappoint. His position on the ship enabled to see everyone who walked up the boarding ramp. There were a lot of clueless people, like the Federation's more profitable entrepreneurs, but he knew among the crowds there were still plenty of lowlifes and dangerous people who could probably use the Sonogen he was selling. Even if the main parties Tanner had been trying to work over didn't come, there'd still be plenty of buyers. And, in a bad action flick, this would be the part where the female would fall in love with a random contrived romance. But this is not a bad action flick. This is a good Metroid. This is a great Metroid story. However, Other M did fall into that trap near the end. Ding! His attention soon shifted towards some limos under guard. The first to arrive was the Vespula Queen and her children. They formed a line from the limo to the boarding ramp when she stepped out. The cruise line already had its welcome party on the ramp, including the captain and some other bigwigs. Shipper Wreath owed the beluga, so he took extra effort to pamper the Queen in every way possible. As he was in very rare form, walking with a scepter of some sort, and looking noticeably pleased. And it wasn't clear from the first look. The way her wings were spread would have done it just as well. But when she reached the boarding ramp, she paused and turned around as another limo pulled up. Even Tanner shifted his weight slightly as if to get a better view. Out came 6 very distinct Vespula that he recognized off the bat. The Vespula's generals had been brought aboard the trip. And with the stance and armor, not to mention the 1x1 formation, they were easily the most disciplined group out of the bunch. All of them were known for their gold shafts and red stingers, and the fact that they personally led their armies to the conflict zones. Commanders were nothing when stacked up against a Vespula general. Seb had only fought against the forces of one in his time with the Galactic Army, and figured the only time he had ever seen all six was a part of a festival firing squad. Didn't love to supervise executions. Holy, all six. Tanner turned to see Scratch next to him, leaning so far off the rail, a fly could have pushed him to his doom. His boss just shuddered and smiled at the same time. They say that when you see one, they want the planet to burn to the ground. When you see all six, they want something so bad the whole universe becomes expendable. Then, that means it's on. Tanner finished with a laugh. When the six generals reached their queen, they broke up into a line formation and gave a synchronized Vespula-style bow. She gave her a nod of approval, and the whole group moved inside the ship. With those guys here. Hey, Scratched! Tanner snapped. All of them are female, loser! The ideal Vespula warrior has always been female! They became silent as more Vespula borrowed the ship as it invaded the place. Scratch and Tanner knew that every single one of them was there to serve their queen in some way or another. There must have been 100 of them. And Tanner knew they didn't check out one room. They checked out a whole deck. It seemed like the boarding process was over, but the captain stuck around, and so he did along with Scratch. Very slowly, a convoy of vehicles showed up in much the same fashion as the Vespula. When the first car pulled up to empty its passengers, the ones that got out said it all. Black hole, Scratch said. Shut up, loser! There was a group of 16 that swarmed the building ramp and took up various positions as another limo passed up. The silver-striped squad leader was nice enough to tell the captain, if you value your well-being, you will stay out of our way. They do not want anything from you and care nothing for your obligations. The greeting party at the Beluga eventually pulled out after a while, and the limo doors opened up. Tanner gripped the rail in anticipation, and Scratch had forgotten to breathe. The whole trip they had been trying to meet with Sturm and drag a black hole, and every single time they had been blown off. It had gotten to the point where they began to doubt if the Emperor brothers even existed. But here they were, until 4 people stepped out of the limo and headed toward the cruise ship. What the hell? What the hell? What the hell is this? Darren stuttered. As soon as he turned and took off, while Scratch did a double take. Hey, where are you going? Scratch didn't get an answer. He turned back toward the group of 4. 3 men and a woman. No, more like a little girl in a black lab coat. It went along well with the black uniforms the other 3 were wearing. The whole group was a sight to see. One was the size of a house. The other was thin as a rail. The last man looked like he had never felt an emotion in his life. The girl couldn't keep herself still and ran circles around the group. Well, Scratch's mistake. She was on rollerblades, and before they could take one step inside the ship, Tanner charged down the ramp, fist cocked like he was going to punch someone. Where's Star and Drag? He barked at him. The black hole soldiers readied their weapons, but didn't fire a shot. The stoic man raised his hand to pause them. Our masters have never stepped out in the open for simple transactions like this, and they certainly won't start for you. The thin man explained with a smile. Shut up, you goddamn albino freak! Tanner was furious. The thin man simply laughed. A smooth, diabolical one, and folded his hands behind his back. Insults for the weak.
He has a dirty mouth,
The girl squealed.
Can we clean it up for him, huh? Can we?
She was making gestures to the scores of armed soldiers standing around them. The stoic man simply kept silent and shook his head. This caused the girl to cross her arms and skate off somewhere behind a man that was as wide as a truck. Where are they? Tanner asked again, this time holding out his finger in front like he was going to impale someone with a quick jab. You heard us, the stoic man finally said. This caused Tanner to pause for a moment. There was something that hinted of a veil of ruthlessness in that stoic man's voice. It was devoid of any sort of feeling except malice. Tanner was sure there were even space pirates had some sort of life in their voices when they screeched or cussed at one another, But this feeling passed quickly, and Tanner became more angry than before. Alright, Malik. Tell your bosses if they don't show up before disembarking time tomorrow, you won't even get to take a crack at Sergeant. If you come in, I'm going to pretend like you're all something I cracked out last week.
You're gonna step us with?
The big man asked in a gruff, unforgiving tone.
Looks like the only thing you got is a big mouth.
The big man looked toward the soldiers around him. They had begun to close in, creating a circle around the 4 rivals of Tanner. This didn't shake 7 at least, and he simply cracked a grin and muttered, I heard about you, the way you guys operate. You don't fire a shot unless you plan to go all the way. And I ain't talking about boarding a goddamn ship. You and I know that the only way you're going all the way here is if you land your hands on Sonojin. You can't do that if your bosses don't get their asses down here now! There was a long, eerie pause. The only thing making noise now was the rollerblades of a girl. She soon came to the stop of the big man, and all of them began to stare at Tanner. Okay, back in the limo. The other 3 made a reluctant shuffle back toward the car. Others just did other likewise. The stoic man simply looked over Tanner thoughtfully. You played your cards well, but let us hope you still have a hand left to deal with Sturm and Drag. With that, they all returned to the limo, and the convoy drove off. Tanner turned around and looked up towards Scratch, shaking his head. He was going to have it his way, if it was the last thing he did. Chapter 10. Nightmare Hold. The Federation Police Precinct was much quieter this time than when Samus had been here last. This was because most of the officers were standing around, watching her sit motionless in a lobby seat. By that time, all of them heard the stories. Samus Aran had just been crushed by a truck and stood up after being stirred by paramedics.
She's not human,
one officer whispered. That's putting it mildly. No sense in whispering, boys. A female officer spoke up. She knows we're staring at her. After the mention of that, everyone scattered to go about what they originally intended. One of the morgue doctors began to approach the lobby with the captain of the precinct, a red-haired man with a narrow face. So, what did those X-rays reveal?
Well, her bones did show signs of being shattered in the last 24 hours, but they're completely whole. Some of the fracture lines are even beginning to disappear. Any medical attention from here on out would be unnecessary.
The captain stared at Edwards for a long time. I thought that her suit only drained energy to keep its systems running.
Look, sir, I tell you honest the truth, I don't know where the suit begins and Samus's body ends. It seems to me that as long as she's wearing the suit, it's just another part of her. It's like nothing the tin cans we equip our officers with. It's so alive.
The 2 of them had gradually looked over towards Samus, who were now gaping at her, like the other officers had been a short while ago. Are you sure she's okay? A truck did crush her.
Are you sure it wasn't a piece of paper?
Edwards shot back in a sarcastic manner. All right. Thanks, Doc. The captain waved Edwards off and began to approach the bounty hunter. She moved her helmet slightly in his direction, but the movement was so relaxed, she gave it the impression she was lost in thought. Her arm cannon hung loosely on the ground, while her other arm was limp in her lap. Grace has a transmission coming through. You'll have to take it to my office. It's the only secure line. This caused her to stand up quickly, but he was moved away from the captain, as it was a slow and different walk. No air of confidence or sheer determination. It was a walk like someone had just woken up. Whatever was going on inside her head, it made her slow to pick up that the captain was not following her. Aren't you going to stand in? She asked with her usual tone. Not a high enough clearance. Right. She sighed back. Samus climbed a short series of stairs and made her way into the office of the captain. There were plenty of virtual plaques on the wall, and some personal pictures located near the desk. Sensitive reports detailed case files on data disk were stacked in one corner, almost like the classic in-box-out-box routine. Then there was the desk in the center, with a screen propped up and flashing the incoming message icon. Ring, 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 Funko, Funko! It had been on standby, and for the looks of it, a long time. Samus sat down in a chair and pressed the center key to make Graves' image pop up on the screen.
Samus? Finally! Where have you been? What the hell's going on?
My ship was destroyed. Surely Adam told you that.
Is that what happened? When Adam uploaded himself into the database, his consciousness was scrambled beyond recognition. Our best tech team is still sifting through the data. We don't know what to think. Oh yes, and before you worry, Adam is salvageable. It's just going to take a long time.
It only took Samus a second to realize the Sonogen bomb was the cause for the damage. The radiation had almost erased him in the process of the transfer.
Victoria Maitland has completely lost her mind. She's been hemorrhaging information for the last 4 days. We've been able to make contact for a while now.
Graves could see Samus lean back in her chair.
She's seen a lot of things, but for the most part, she keeps screaming about being with Seb and wanting to meet him on the Beluga, over and over again until her throat gives out. She waits a night or two, then it starts up again. We don't know what to do with her other than put her in a sanatorium.
We have a cruise to catch.
Tanner's voice echoed through Samus's head. She balled her hand into a fist and took a deep breath. Sir, I need your authorization to terminate Sylvester Tanner and any other Sandtrap terminal, she said strongly. Graves stood there, stone-faced, upon hearing Samus's request. He was silent and seemed to be looking her over.
What happened? Did you find out during that time after your ship was destroyed?
Tanner has no intention of returning to the Galactic Federation. He's going to sell Sonogen to the Vespula or anyone else who wants it. I can no longer afford to treat him as a civilian. Graves was silent for the time.
I'll be frank. Making you judge, jury, and executioner won't look good at all. You understand?
He became silent again.
But it will stop him from giving Sonogen to the likes of the Vespula. Permission granted.
Samus had gotten what she wanted and began to look around the room. She still lost Tanner, and an instinct in her body made it feel like it was too late to wander around aimlessly. Then she saw a picture on the desk. It was of the police captain and his wife. Separate reef cruise lines could be seen at the bottom of the digital picture. The boat they were standing on in front of had a name in cursive.
General Graves, what did you say Victoria kept yelling out?
Samus asked suddenly.
Hold on.
He took a moment to double-check as Samus stood up and got a closer look at the picture.
Reports stated she wanted to keep meeting Tanner on the Beluga. Since he is sane, it's hard to tell what she means.
By the time Graves had finished his sentence, Samus was already out of the room. The sun was setting by the time a speeding white blur came rocketing into the south blue docks. All the dock workers moving about did a double take as a gust of wind suddenly came roaring by. Some could see the blur weave in and out of the cargo crates, and any cars, and head straight for the cases section of the harbor. Even security didn't know what to make of it, but it wasn't like they were going to do anything. Very special black hole VIPs had just arrived, and due to interplanetary currency, they were to stay the hell out of the way as they continued to value their jobs, and probably their lives. Samus came to a sliding stop when the Beluga came into view. It was setting directly in the setting sun, and appeared to be on fire from her angle. She moved closer, only to see a swarm of black vehicles creating a perimeter around the boarding ramp. Strange soldiers in black suits also patrolled the area, with their hands on their guns' arms. None of the vehicles they walked around looked like any sort of Federation designs he had seen. Most of them had no windows, and some were even equipped with a turret that swiveled around like the head of an owl. It was a perfect position to take up, because the parking lot provided little extras and areas to sneak around. She was trying to decide how to go about getting to the ship when a black limo under escort pulled in from the visitor entrance and began to head toward the heavy blockade. Samus took up a position behind a black cart car and used her morph ball function. When the escort rolled by, she moved down and under it. Now, out of sight due to the lack of light, a large shadow generated by the limo. In no time, she was at the center of the mass of black vehicles, and her sensors could pick up everything. It was a perfect position to detect the ramp. It was even better to position to register two enormous figures as they stepped out of the limo and made their way toward the Beluga.
Look alive, Orbs! Pay respects to Lord Sturm and Drang!
One squad leader called out. Sturm and Drang were both giants, 12 feet tall easily, and while their bodies were hidden by long flowing capes, it was hard to tell exactly what they were. They could have been either machines or creatures wearing masks. Sturm could be identified as the one with the snout shaped like the grill of a truck, with two broad pipes jutting out each side. These pipes were rounded to the back somewhere and disappeared under the cape. The hat, shaped like an officer cap, would have hidden his eyes if they didn't glow an eerily teal color. Drang was a head shorter than Sturm, but still much taller than any human. He, like his brother, wore a cape to conceal every part of his body. But that's where the similarities ended. For one, his snout was capped off, and there was no opening at the end. Instead, capless tubes branched off the sides and hung down from a metallic mustache. These tubes emitted some sort of smoke at a steady rate and served as the exhaust ports. His eyes, hidden under the same type of cap, were red. Any soldier that was remotely near them straightened up like a bullet and put their arms parallel to their body. They dared not move until their rulers had gotten a sizable distance and then went back to their usual routine. They did this until Sturm and Drang met with the Silver Squad leader that announced their arrival. My lords, we have not yet made any progress on our search.
You had better, and soon. All of this aggravation coming out here should be worth every second. I need not to remind you, I am already busy elsewhere,
Sturm said.
Do not be so impatient, brother, Drang began. You have seen the locals of this galaxy's reaction to this. It'll be worth our while, considering there are so many parties already involved. That brings me to my next observation. If we take any hostile action before declaring war, the other lords will exile us. Who will be around to tell them after we have conquered this galaxy? Once we acquire this weapon, this human will be first to burn.
A large plume of smoke burst out of Drang's tubes before disappearing into the wind.
Yes, I remember your high opinions of humans, brother. Must I remember you, dear brother, that eloquence is your primary weakness.
Samus could only listen to the clear and cutthroat tones of the two brothers. It was a similar feeling to when she had come into contact with Mother Brain, as if the brothers themselves were bottomless pits, ready to swallow up anything that got in their way. Their speech was not hindered by any sort of filter or breathing apparatus. It only enhanced their dark tone more.
Forget your prejudices, Drang. Even a sample of this size of a teardrop will be enough. We can duplicate all we acquire.
The two moved closer to the entrance of the cruise liner.
If we add this galaxy to our growing list of conquered territories, the other nobles will treat us as gods. Nothing else will matter.
Drang had no rebuttal for this statement, and simply huffed a larger smoke cloud than before. Sturm turned toward the squad leader after observing his brother's disapproval.
Find where this human is keeping the sonation material. My brother and I will play the part of guests to keep him distracted. For what this human has put us through, you'd think all he ever wanted was our presence. The miserable cur. He will live to forget it.
The Emperor brothers stood in silence for a while, then moved onto the ship. Soldiers, two in groups of 5, began to gather around the squad leader.
We're going to do a complete search of the hulls. You're all looking for a radiation count of the scales. Now, don't come back empty-handed.
The soldiers entered the ship as the vehicles blocked the area around, began to take off in different directions. Soon enough, it was deserted, with Samus sitting right in front of the boarding ramp in morph ball form. She came out of it and took a quick look around before boarding the ship. It was her luck that the men checking tickets became too wrapped up in Sturm and Drang's arrival to notice her, as she slipped by. There was no time to explain her mission assigned by the Federation, nor did she even want to in the first place. She had to find the Sonogen and contain it before a black hole retrieved a large sample enough to turn the whole galaxy upside down. You know, my only problem with this particular 2 chapters is even though we got really good spy stuff going on here, and really good escorting mission, my only complaint is I kind of wish Samus did it dressed in her normal form. You know, kind of got her hair done over a bun and pretended to be a fancy high-class broad, walk in and then proceed to do her investigation, and then just as soon as the party starts, then she starts proceeding to own everything! The group of soldiers split up, one group going deeper into the ship, and the other and heading in toward the lifts. Due to the number of people and the ruckus caused by Black Hole Leader's arrival, it was easy for Samus to move without everyone crying out her name. After all, the Black Hole soldiers shared a similar look with a gun arm and full bodysuit. They were admittedly wider and a darker color scheme than Samus, and to be frank, the entrance lobby of the cruiser was confusing all in itself, with too much going on, and not enough space to contain it. She soon followed the corner to the set of rifts. The 5 squeezed into one and began to head down. Samus ran forward and caught the secondary doors before they closed. The lift itself was modeled after an old elevator system, and there was a roof to the car that could support someone on its way up or down. That's just what Samus did. The shaft was pitch black, but she could hear the soldiers in the car talking amongst themselves. The Beluga's hold is close quarters, so I want every last one of you using the shotgun function. Understand? The choruses of yes sir followed. Then the sounds of guns whirring and clicking followed. It sounded as if they had just held themselves to an armory, and they were just as noisy when clearing the lift and moving out into the halls. Samus waited a couple of seconds before prying open an emergency hatch and dropped down into the car. What loomed ahead of her was an expansive, 2-level area full of cargo containers. The lower level housed the container, while the second level was a catwalk system. The holes of the Beluga were all poorly lit, and Samus could already make out the light as someone searching the area. But before she could make a move, an announcement came on. Attention crew members, this is the captain speaking. We are ready for departure. Please make all routine security checks before we clear the harbor zone. We are submerging once we reach the Ziggurat Reef, so all hatches must be checked and cleared by then. That is all. The roots shuddered slightly as the Beluga's engine started up and began to pull the cruise liner away from the docks. This is when Samus readied her arm cannon and began to creep slowly across the catwalk. The holds were silent. The only activity she could make out was the life off in the distance. It swung from container to container and was headed right toward her. It wasn't long before she could see the light belonged to a human crew member, going about his usual security routines. His boredom was very noticeable as he dragged his feet and sighed after checking each container. That's when Samus knew there was something creeping up behind him. When an awful crack occurred, and the crew member was on the ground unconscious. She could see it was a Black Hole soldier. The soldier was now pointing his gun arm at the crew member's head, and right before he was about to pull the trigger, something caught his attention. He jumped as if a very loud sound had broken his concentration. Next thing he did was look around the hold in a perplexed manner. He put his hand to the side of his helmet and soon completely turned around. Something was happening elsewhere. Oh great, a predator showed up! The soldier soon broke into a dead run and abandoned the crew member on the ground. Samus jumped down into the lower section of the holds and gave chase. It seemed like the soldier was going in almost random directions as he weaved left and right through the mass of containers. Whatever was going on, it had his full attention, as he didn't bother to check over his soldiers once. They must have traversed the ship fore to aft, but eventually they came to a wall where the containers and catwalks stopped. The soldier located a hatch and headed right on in, but Samus came to a stop to see where they had ended up. It was a restricted area, blocked off from the rest of the hold, and the hatch had been blown open with explosives. The discharge of weaponry could be heard inside, along with the agonizing screams of someone in pain. She was about to run in when it abruptly stopped. Then there was silence, and it didn't feel like there were any soldiers still moving up ahead. Something was happening. Something very bad was happening. A chill worked its way up and down Samus' spine. Instead, she realized just how cold the hold had become. Reaching into the restricted area didn't help a bit.
If anything, it was colder now than ever. Her suit no longer suffered a serious side effect when ice was used against her. But the feeling was still uncomfortable nonetheless. This area was different, and there was only a perimeter catwalk above, and it only seemed to house one type of container. They had several stacks in groups of 4. Every single one of them was identical, with something burned off but the top by a laser cutter. Her heart skipped a beat. Could this be Sonogen? Any thoughts reserved for that feeling were overridden with a new one. She finally reached the black hole soldiers strung up around her. There were 6 of them, hugged with some type of organic webbing. Scanning it would reveal that it was webbing from a very large spire. When she gave a closer look toward the soldiers themselves, the only word to describe them would be mutilated. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not Predator after all. Frackin' Xenomorphs. Those Xenomorphs don't have a prayer! Let go of me! A frantic cry came out from somewhere behind Samus. She spun around and looked about the area. The cry had come from a corner, as she slowly made her way toward the source. When she turned the corner of one of the containers, she could see a black hole soldier up against the wall, with a multitude of tentacles wrapped around where its next should be.
Sventoon,
Samus gasped. But the ghost didn't seem to notice Samus, and kept toying with his present victim.
You don't breathe oxygen too well, do you? You're one of the more interesting species. The only thing I could compare your blood to is something like motor oil or hydraulic fluid. But you're far from machine, aren't you?
The soldier's red eyes were wide with terror. It was obvious that fear was one of his lesser felt emotions.
We'll see how long you last without that suit of yours.
Sventoon then popped the soldier's helmet like a cork off a wine bottle. Almost immediately, the soldier began to gag and claw futile at Sventoon's tentacles. His snout swung around and sucked away at air as if trying to find some source that was breathable. A long, hideous cry signaled his death as he went limp in Sventoon's grip. The ghost took a moment to observe the dead body longingly before casting it aside like trash. Samus soon opened fire with plasma and hit Sventoon a couple of times. It had no effect, just like its sand trap.
Hello to you, Samus. Are you looking for death, like the strange beings I just met? I'm looking forward to yours. What? You say it like death is something to fear. On the contrary, death is a very good friend of mine. I'd love to introduce you.
Oh, there's still a lot left to fear on your end, Sventoon. The ghost floated toward the center of the room and began to laugh again.
I wish I could talk to you forever, but I would say that I enjoy making Mother Brain happy. Her brain waves, her thoughts, so delicious. I could never exist without them. That is why I would do anything for her. Anything. What did you say? I said, it's time for that big farewell. You served your purpose. You tracked down Tanner for us, fussed him out of hiding. There's no reason to spare you like the time on Sandtrap.
In a smooth, effortless movement, Samus launched a missile. Sventoon snatched it up in midair, grasping it tightly as the thrust tried to free itself from its grasp. He began to shake it at the hunter in a condescending way.
For shame, Samus. You should realize a stray missile might cause a Sonogen leak. And as much as I love to see you melt away into nothing, I have to keep every crate in prime condition. Ridley has to have something to move them in.
Sventoon soon discovered in the blink of an eye. His insane laughter filled the halls.
I'm over here, Samus.
He called from outside the restricted area.
Let's make this a party to remember.
Samus took a moment to focus her thoughts, and soon ran at him, arm cannon ready to go. Well, that seems like a perfect place to stop. Tune in tomorrow, folks. The big finale's on its way.